Something else you could do is when I say chocolate, I want everyone to walk around the room looking everywhere except into anyone's eyes, looking up, looking down, all around the room, chocolate, and they're running around. And then you use numbers and body parts and sides. 3 things. For example, when I call out the following thing, I want you to make yourselves group together and do it. Are you ready? Yeah. And they're walking around. Here we go. 5 right feet together. Chocolate! And they're running and scrambling in groups and they're all touching their toes or heels or sneakers together. The right together. If there are odd groups out, groups of 3 or 2, we're still encouraging limiting the idea of pass and fail. Wonderful! We're going to walk around the room, chocolate! And they're walking around the room. Now, the next one, we'll reduce that from 5 to 4. 4, left, gluteus maximus together. And they're scrambling around, touching their left glutes together. Of course, they have to know what is gluteus maximus. That's part of the vocabulary you've already taught them. And down until you get to 2. For example, 2 right elbows together. Boom, they run around, they touch elbows together. All of a sudden, you've done what? You've created teams of 2. If you have a group of 3, you can join that one person, and that person is sort of teacher's pet and gets to play with you for that specific amount of time. But it's a wonderful way to group. When they're elbows to elbows, that's cool. You can have them work together. Another thing you could do is say, who's the taller one, who's the shorter one? If you're going to give them names and you label the taller one as A, the shorter one is number 1, because no one wants to be letter B and no one really wants to be number 2. No one wants to be second. So very positive terminology with kids. So you put them in pairs. Taller one is A, shorter one is 1, and all the A's sit on the floor. And now what have you done? You've just created 2 teams without ever having to say, pick your friends. All the standing people are the team 1 or the first group you're creating, and all the floor people are the second team, team A or team 1, the second group you've created. That's pretty cool. So it's very positive terminology, and it's a wonderful way to use body parts, sides, and groupings to put people together in very positive. The last tip I'd like to share with you with kids involves creating more terminology. What word do we use to initiate movement? Chocolate, avoiding the traditional ubiquitous in group fitness, go. They're already hearing so much of that. I like 4 words that initiate movement. So instead of ever having to shout out to your students, be quiet, or to shout out, I want you to go to the floor and sit and listen for the next exercise, or I want you to work in pairs and I want you to do this type of movement. 4 words for the rest of their kids' fitness life are going to initiate movement. I like to use the first word called stork. When I yell the word stork, you're going to raise one leg, you can put your hands out to the side and be as still as you can be. I'm looking for the people who can be the stillest marble statues. You're not saying good, you're not saying bad, you're not saying winner, you're not saying loser, but for the rest of your life, whenever they're around you and they hear the word stork, all of a sudden they know to stop and pose and freeze. You could also choose the word freeze. The second word I like to use and have everybody understand is the word statue. So when I yell out the word statue, no matter what you're doing, you're in pairs, you're running, you're playing tag, you're sitting, you're doing work, statue is stand and freeze. Or if you're on the floor, whatever you're doing, moving like a wiggle worm, for example, you hold that position and you freeze. Whatever you happen to be doing at the moment is the moment that you hold, and who can be the stillest statue, emphasizing isometric stability in terms of personal training or group fitness, understanding and terminology, for example, right? Whenever your children are running around, you could use then the words stork or freeze. But another word that I like to encourage you to have them know is the word fall. What's the number 1 fear of our active aging exercisers? Falling down and injuring themselves. What's the number 2 fear? Getting down to the floor with volition, and then number 3, not being able to get back up, right? So from children's fitness all the way up, have people play with getting down and make it active, and fun. So when I yell the word fall, you have to tumble to the floor, and whatever position you're in, you just stay there. So that's really fun. Instead of saying, shh, I want you all to quiet down and sit on the floor while I explain the next exercise. No, silly. Just yell at your students or say to your students, fall, and all of a sudden everyone's on the floor. So the first word could be what? Stork. The second word, whatever they're doing, freeze. The third word, fall down to the floor. And the fourth word is tunnel. When you hear the word tunnel, legs go out wide like this, arms go overhead like this, and guess what? They're in this live position. Wide center of gravity, wide base of support, narrow overhead, perhaps looking up or looking forward. And that's ideal because you may have them do some exercises coming up where one will go through the tunnel. For example, all the letter A's, they're listening, all the letter A's, tunnel. All the number ones go through the tunnel twice. So all the number ones run through and then run through and run through and switch. All the number ones, stork. All the letter A's run around the room and all the letter A's now tunnel. All the number ones go through the tunnel, for example. So what are our 4 words? If children understand these 4 words, you're always really in control without ever having to say, be quiet or sit or settle down. The words are stork, statue, fall, and tunnel. I hope you enjoyed these practical, fun tips for training kids. And remember this, almost everyone in the group fitness experience can come under our definition for purposes of this workshop as a kid.